the prison population, which has reached a record high. On Tuesday next week, the government's temporary early release scheme will come into effect to deal with the overcrowding. A justice system dangerously on the brink. From next week, thousands of inmates will be released early, not because of good behaviour or wrongful convictions, but because prisons simply cannot cope. The new emergency measures mean some of those who served 40% of their sentence will walk free in order to create space, including some of those who've been jailed for serious sexual offences, as we revealed earlier in the week.
We've inherited a situation where there are virtually no prison places. Clearly there's a short-term issue as well, which will have to be addressed in different ways.
The swift justice delivered to those who took part in riots over the summer has contributed to the prison population in England and Wales rising to record levels. Figures released today show the number has risen by more than 1,000 during the past 4 weeks. That means 88,521 people are currently behind bars, the highest number since the data was first published in 2011. And while overall numbers are expected to ease from next week, the pressure will likely grow on an already strained probation service.
They're going to be releasing about 2,000 people, and that's in the context of the fact they're already working with over 200,000 people. So it's a small increase, but every extra case is adding to their overall caseload.
Another way to ease pressure is to put criminals in jail for shorter terms. That's what a group of former Lord Chief Justices are calling for. They say the doubling of sentence lengths over the past 50 years is a trend that must be reversed. Well, one of those former Lord Chief Justices is Lord Phillips of Matravers. He joined me earlier in the studio and I asked him why sentences have gone up over time.
They've gone up over time as a result of legislation, because government reacts to particular horrific offences which have a lot of public horror about them by increasing the minimum sentence or the maximum sentence. When they do that for one offence, then the sentences for the other offences have to stay in line.
And do you think that's been a mistake?
I think the consequence has been very unfortunate, yes. And I don't think it's been unintended. I don't think government intended that sentences should double. I don't think the public have been aware of this. It's just happened almost by happenstance.
But why is it wrong that sentences should double? I mean, a lot of people would say good.
Well, they would, until you start thinking about what this involves, and particularly the cost of it, because it costs £50,000 or more a year to keep somebody in prison. And if you don't need to, then you're spending a lot of money that you don't need to spend. And so it needs a lot of thought. What is the least sentence that's appropriate in this situation?
Is the least sentence the right approach when there is a demand from the public for punishment?
Well, that's really the vital question. How much do you pay just for punishment? Obviously, pay money for rehabilitation, pay money to protect the public from dangerous offenders. But if you're just talking about punishment, what's the right punishment for dangerous driving? What's the right punishment for causing death by dangerous driving?
In the wake of the recent riots, we've seen some very stiff sentences, and you wonder whether would they always have been the sentence for that, or is it the deterrence factor increased because of the political demand for that?
Well, I don't think it's political demand. It's a sensible reaction to the kind of rioting we've seen, that the judges give some fairly heavy sentences to make people think before they behave like this. So it is in a way, a short-term deterrent decision on the length of sentence.
What is the answer? Is the answer to just bring everything down?
We are sentencing people for much longer than we need, much longer than Northern Ireland, much longer than Scotland, much longer than the rest of Europe, and this is almost by accident. So we need to reconsider. But the important thing, I think, is that members of the public really think about this and ask themselves, is it worth the amount we have to pay, doing without maybe a hospital, in order to build another prison, simply to punish people more severely?
What would you say then to the victims of crime?
I would say, I understand your reaction. It is very understandable. But society has to consider not only a sentence that's going to satisfy you. And of course, there won't be one. Because if you're a victim, there's never going to be a sentence that is long enough. But even victims, I think, if they think about it, will appreciate that there's got to be a limit on how long you send people to prison.
Thank you very much.
Right, thank you.